Welcome to the Digital Marketing Mentor. I'm your host, Danny Gavin, and together with industry leaders and marketing experts, we'll explore the meeting point of mentorship and marketing. We'll discover how these connections have affected careers, marketing strategies, and lives. Now get ready to get human. Hello, everyone. I'm Danny Gavin, founder of Optidge, marketing professor, and the host of the Digital Marketing Mentor. Today is a very special office hours episode with the one and only Alejandro Torres, who is a paid search analyst at Optidge. Today, we're going to talk about a unique solution to PPC budget management. But before we get into that topic, Alejandro, how are you?
I'm doing good, Danny. Thanks for inviting me to the podcast.
It's my pleasure. I know we've tried to sit down a couple times and it just hasn't worked because we're both busy guys. We're both dads,
Yeah,
you know. But I'm so glad that we're sitting here today.
I'm glad to.
So before we jump into the topic at hand, why don't you tell our audience more about your background? So where you went to school, what you studied, and how you got here today.
Of course, sure. So it's pretty strange path that I took, but let me explain. When I went to decide which career to choose on the university, I wanted arts. I wanted to be a movie director, but there's no industry in Mexico. I'm located in Mexico, so in Guadalajara, there's a big university, very important, the same university that Guillermo del Toro went at some point of his life, but there's no industry here. And I started studying marketing, not digital marketing, just marketing. Uh, I went into the school probably 1 year on marketing, and I decided it wasn't for me. It was more on the traditional side of marketing, and I didn't love it. It was horrible for me. It was the worst part of my all my learning process in my life. So I choose to change career paths again one
I
year
just
after.
want to I
After
want to stop you just because it's funny. When I was studying my MBA, the class that I got the worst grade in was marketing. So I can relate, but it wasn't a digital marketing course. It was a traditional marketing. So
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with. I wasn't matching. I loved at that point. I was already involved in tech, and I loved tech and website development. I was kind of involved in tech industry because my father, it was his profession. So I love tech, and this was too traditional for me, and I didn't love it. I wasn't passionate about it. So I changed my career path, and again, s- decided based on career opportunities, growth, and etc. So I moved to financial management.
and honestly, today we're talking about PPC budgets, right? So that's finance.
Exactly.
So
that's
it
that's why
worked out.
it's
It
like
worked out well.
exactly. So I complete the career. I'm a financial management bachelor's degree. But when I graduated, I didn't love it. The salaries were low at that point, and I had a lot of background on tech. So I end up working on tech, uh, mostly on IT stuff, and project management, etc. But at some point in one of my previous works, uh, I was really on this process in the university. I On a summer vacation, I decided to do something on my own, and I started an e-commerce website selling T-shirts. It went well, not extraordinarily well, but it was good. But at some point, I leave it and focus back on my career, on the university. And when I was on IT on a company that used to work, they wanted to do e-commerce. Actually, I proposed it first, and they told me, no, 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 that's our clients doesn't understand digital. They don't even know how to use the cell phone, so we don't want an e-commerce. So the first step was to be a distributor of the company. I created my own company distributing their products. They noticed, they look into the webpage, and they at some point they came to me and told me, have you seen this company? They're selling our stuff online. And I was like, yeah, it's me. They will, okay, why aren't you doing this for us? And I was like, you told me you didn't want to. Now we want to. Please do it. So I built up their e-commerce on Shopify when Shopify probably was starting, and it went super good. It was super successful. It became one of the best selling stores in the first year.
I love it. And I think the point is it's like, you tried things on your own, you started from yourself. And I think that's a common thread for some of the best digital marketers out there are the ones who try things on their own, aren't worried to make mistakes. So it's cool that you're part of that club.
Yeah, I think curiosity is one core value for anyone in this industry.
Yeah, that's fair. Well, thank you so much for that intro. Let's dive into PPC campaign budgets. So, a little bit of an intro for the audience. In the world of Google Ads, in the world of PPC, we have budgets, right? A certain amount of money that we want to spend every single month. Usually, this is assigned by the client. And you'd think that you put in that budget, and we'll talk about it, right? You think you put in that budget into the platform and it will stick to that. And the problem is, it's not that simple. So Alejandro and his team got together to create a cool system on how to better track PPC campaign budgets. And if you think about it, especially when you have a lot of clients, it's something that could be really difficult. So let's jump right in. So, Alejandro, was there a straw that broke the camel's back moment that led you to create this tracking sheet?
Yeah, I mean, part of the responsibilities as a PPC specialist is to monitor spend. And as you mentioned, in Google is kind of tricky. Normally, other platforms you set a monthly budget and you are free to go, and can be calm and wait for the end of the month to pay. But Google is daily budgets. So sometimes Google finds opportunities to spend more some days, and other days doesn't spend as much. So you have to keep monitoring daily in order to, manage to spend the budget. And it happened to me a couple of months uh, that I overspent. Not much, but I overspent, and or underspent. It happened for 2 or 3 months. So my first approach it is to, what can I do to stop? We used to have a tool to monitor overall the budgets, but daily spends are complicated. So I started basically checking the campaigns 3 times a week and logging into an Excel sheet how much is spending and compare with the budgets. And it was a nightmare, but it was I do that for probably 2 or 3 months, and then I start doing some automations on the sheets because it took me a while to extract the information. But not all the information it was extracted manually and copy and paste and all that. And it was good. I stopped over or underspending, but it was a lot of effort only to, something that is not actually adding value to the client, because it's basically just keep monitoring money instead of optimizing the campaigns or doing stuff that actually adds value for the campaigns and end up giving more leads or value for the money for the clients. So that's why I started with the automations. And at some point, uh, I think it was, well, someone in the Optidge team told me about this tool, which is called Data Slayer, which basically queries your accounts, extracts the information so you can do super cool stuff. It gives you superpowers in terms of what you can do with, especially in this case with the budgets.
That's amazing. So, did you try any other solutions from other providers? Like maybe try a software, like first before having to like come up with this new system?
Yeah, we used I think it's called Hawk AI. It is a very cool tool. It has a lot of stuff, a good dashboards. You can monitor multiple networks and all that stuff. But when it comes to Google, again, it's never accurate. It's hard to be accurate. It's better to be on top of the spend. And this tool, I think it used to update once a day, and sometimes didn't update correctly, and you have to wait one more day to update. And that was the complicated part. You in 2 or 3 days you can miss a lot of spend in terms of over or underspending. So it is important to have like more accurate measuring in terms of that. So it was a great tool. They have a great AI UI, but it wasn't perfect. We were looking for something that optimized our workflow in terms of look into the dashboard, see if something is going wrong, and you can then dig deeper. And that's why what we start doing basically with this tool.
So I think the advantage that you're saying over, let's say, another tool is like you're literally taking the raw data out of the tool and then you can really manipulate and customize it. So now I don't think everyone has that ability, experience. So I think it's cool that number one, if you didn't have the experience, but you were willing to try it out, but also, to go ahead and then be able to create something custom. I think, there's always pros and cons, but if you can take the data, customize it, and make it to what you need, I think that's provides so many benefits both to you, to everyone else in the department, and eventually to the clients.
I think the most important thing here is everything that doesn't add value to the customer or the agency, and can be automated because allows you to take that time and focus on what's important, and focus on what adds value on the revenue of the client and that stuff. So yeah, definitely.
So, when it comes to underspending and overspending, do you notice any trends with regards to the type of client, the type of campaign? Are there things that usually overspend or underspend?
With Google is a roulette. You never know. It has happened even when this with this tool that looks perfect, and then 2 days after Google overspend a lot. The good thing is you can quickly monitor and check and adjust. The only issues the only issues when it happens at the end of the month. You have 2 or 3 days before the end of the month, and Google decides, I will overspend these 3 days, and that's the issue. But overall, I think that has happened much less than with this tool than it happened before.
So tell me about this tool. Like, so obviously you're tracking information for multiple clients, but do you have like a high level dashboard? How are you able to like log in and see, make decisions quickly?
Yeah, basically we created these it works with Google Sheets, which is cool because you can manipulate, copy paste, and do stuff quickly. So you have like a dashboard with a list of all the clients you are managing, and you can quickly check how is the spend compared with the budget, and what's the deviation in terms of money and percentage. And if there's if you notice something that is not going correctly, you can click on the client's name, and then you open the client's dashboard, which is also in Google Sheets. Everything is running through Google Sheets, and you have the dashboard is divided in two parts. The top part of the dashboard gives you overall of the account. You can see, okay, the overall all the account in terms of the whole budget. It's this is a situation. But then you can go back down in the to the dashboard and see this campaign is the one that is overspending or underspending. So the you can see the forest, but you can go to analyze each tree. So that's super cool.
And I don't think that was a feature that they had, like to be able to look at the campaign level and be able to do budgets, right? Or was it
No, it was
available
more on the account level.
account level? That's cool. So that's something that you could customize by taking that data. Love it.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, so you can see each campaign, and you can see not only the spend, you can see the deviations, you can see the remaining daily budget. So if you see that you're overspending, you can see, oh, this is the daily budget that I can use for the rest of the month, and change it right away.
So you don't even have to like take out a calculator or go to another Excel
Not at
or
all.
sheet cell and do it, but it's all there.
Exactly. Yeah.
Tell me the excitement of the team when you like show them this. And I know you worked on with other people, but like were people like, "Oh my god, like what was that?" Just kind of describe it.
It was cool. It was super cool. They were super excited. They participated on the process.
Yes.
I took a lot of feedback from the team. I think that's why the tool is super cool. If you only take one way road with building the best tool ever and never listen to the stakeholders, it can be the best tool, but the stakeholders doesn't involve and make probably doesn't match what they want or what they expect of the tool. So receive feedback from the end users, in this case the other teammates. It helps to improve the tool. So as if a lot of features came from their feedback, they were obviously super excited when they start seeing the tool. It makes super easy, instead of going account per account watching what is going on. You can have this dashboard filter, okay, these are my accounts, how they're doing, everything looks good. So you don't have to go deeper, you just, in a quick look, you know if everything is going good. And if there's errors or if there's something wrong, you can dig in deeper and go into the account level, campaign level. So that's super cool. And something that I haven't mentioned so far is we're using Google, but also Bing. So we're monitoring both platforms at the same time.
Yeah, we forget about the little brother called Bing or
Yeah.
Microsoft Ads. So we don't discriminate. We check
No, no,
budgets
no.
on both.
Exactly.
And I think what's cool to mention about this is like this whole thing of using Data Slayer. So I think at Optidge we've used other things in the past, but Data Slayer actually came from the paid social department because they
Yeah.
wanted to pull certain data, and then once they kind of shared that information, it like helped the paid search department. So I'm just proud about the collaboration, right? And this is, I think, advantage of an agency having multiple departments and that cross department collaboration. Just really cool things can come out from that.
Yeah, communicate about what you are doing in one department and show the rest of the team always helps. And this is a perfect example because they bring that tool, and I was like, oh, so we can probably use it for this other task. And that's why it's important to have this type of communication between departments.
So to get a little bit technical, I think technically you're using queries in order to create these dashboards. Tell us
Yeah.
about these queries and how you decide to utilize them. Like, and I assume part of that will be how often is the data actually coming in.
Yeah, basically, data layer works with queries. They charge you by queries.
Oh,
So what is a
that's important to
query?
note.
Yeah, but even though the similar tools that does kind of the same thing are, the data layer is very cheap compared with all to other tools. So that's
Correct.
super cool. But well, it works with queries. What is a query? Basically, when you go through to an account and pull information, every time you pull information from an account, that's a query. So in terms of what we wanted to achieve, there was a multiple there was different ways to approach it. So we can, the first approach was to create a dashboard for each client and query the information from each client. But at some point, the scale kills you because you have to replicate a lot of stuff every time and replicate the queries and do a lot of work. So at some point, I was like, why don't we create just one what way just pull all the information from the Google, all the information from Bing, from all the accounts that we are managing. I started with the active accounts, but pretty soon I noticed it was the best approach, because sometimes you pause campaigns at the middle of the month, and the tool wasn't pulling that data. So I update the query to pull information for active campaigns, for campaigns that have spent in the month or at least one impression. Just in the case that it's not spending, or it's paused, but it was active 2 days and has two or three impressions, let it show. So I basically pull that three filters, and the columns that I bring up into the tool are basically the campaign name, the account ID, and the spend. These are the three more important columns that I'm bringing into the tool. And we have that information is pulled into what we call Google dump and Bing dump, which are basically the raw data. And from there, I take the information into separate sheets by client.
Awesome. It's really cool how you figured that all out. So, do clients have access to any of this information?
No, this is more internal management. Basically, as I mentioned before, this doesn't add any value, any actual value to the client. So it doesn't make sense. If any client wants access to it, we can probably figure it out, but just monitor spend is not. I mean, I have never managed a client that tells you, I want to spend money on Google, and what's your goal? Spend money. It's they normally are looking for leads or sales or something else. So we focus on provide that data instead of worrying them about how much they are spending.
So, how often are you or other teammates actually reviewing the data? Like, how often are they going into the sheet?
The regular process is to check into these at least twice a week.
Okay.
But if you notice something is not going well, then you probably want to start monitoring more often.
How are there any automations or alerts? Like, if something goes down, then you're automatically alerted?
Not yet. It's probably something that we can figure out, but it took me a lot of time to get into this point.
Oh,
And
totally.
yeah, probably eventually we will figure out more automations and more things to do there. But then some other projects came up to the table, so you have to prioritize.
Right, because if anyone thinks that Google Ads just the same thing all the time, beware. Things are changing all the time.
Yeah.
But you know what's interesting, Alejandro? I think that with Zapier, we and potentially like changes in rows or columns, we could do some sort of things. But yeah, we'll table that for next. We'll table that for next week.
Sure.
Is there one person in charge of like going in and updating or like checking, hey team, are there any budget changes, or does everyone have the ability to just go in and say, okay, well the budget was 1,500.
Yeah, everyone in the team can go into the tool. I can even look other teammates accounts if I want to. I can see what's the current budget, set daily budgets on Google, and if I notice there's a big jump in terms of spend, I can notify someone else in the team. So yeah, it's pretty collaborative. Even though if someone in the team it's on PTO, is out of vacation, it can tell the teammates, look for my accounts, check if there's an overspend, and everything's there. You can decide with the information showing up in the dashboard. You can decide, even if it's not your account, you can quickly decide what to do with the budget.
Now, if let's say there's a new campaign that was created, do you actually have to go in and like add that campaign to something, or does things automatically just
It is
get
automatic.
updated?
You have to update the query just to pull the information from the account, but you don't have to add a campaign per campaign
So
individually.
once that
You just
account's
add the
connected, it just
yeah.
works. That is really cool. And then like to add a new account, Is that something like it's centralized and something you do, or does every person, or they know how to do it and then they add it?
I've created an SOP explaining
Cool.
the process for the team, as an SOP, which is a document, but also a video showing up the process to the team. But you know, sometimes if there's one missing formula or anything, it's broken, they can come up to me and I can quickly fix it.
Cool. But technically they do it, but you're always there to help them.
Exactly. Yes.
Love it. And SOP, just for those people who don't know, is standing operating procedure in agencies and in companies in general. It's really smart to document processes. And that way, if Alejandro wants to go on vacation, like we can still do what we need to do.
Yeah.
But that's cool. That is so cool. I love it. Um, yeah, wow. So giving that the spending thresholds, both upper and lower, can vary widely from campaign to campaign, um, how do you go about knowing what the normal values are for the different campaigns? Is there a cell with a quick reference value? Is there a color coded table? Um, how does that work?
Yeah. It is color coded. Basically, if a campaign is over the regular spend, it will turn it over or under 10% of the regular spend, it turns red. So it's like a semaphore. You can go in and, oh, here's a red flag. So let's go dig deeper. No, and we set it on 10% because, as we mentioned, Google can overspend one day and then underspend. So normally it tends to normalize during a couple of days or a week. So if you rush in an update before this 10% and you update the budget, you can end up underspending or overspending or making a lot of changes during the month. So the ideal world is not to change every day the budget on Google because it also affects the campaigns. So that's why we have this tolerance of 10%.
And also that I think like the advantage of only checking twice a week, right? Like someone might say, "Hey, how come you're not checking every day?" But it's because if you check every day, you actually might make the wrong decision. You kind of need to
Yeah,
wait a little bit to see what goes on.
exactly.
So, but the actual budget, like this campaign needs to spend this much, that you actually have to hard code enter into the sheet, correct?
Yeah, there's we have on the dashboard, on the client dashboard, you have the on the part of where you see the overall account,
Yeah.
you can set account budget. But probably you have a client that has, oh, I have this budget for California and this budget for Texas. So you can set the two budgets in top part of the account, and then assign these budgets to the campaigns in the sheet. So that way you can, group the spends, and it makes it much easier to monitor.
That is really, really cool. Um, I guess last official question is, do you have a way of viewing like trends? What does like more long term, or is it really like we're literally looking at each month and like once June's over, then now we look at July. Do we look at historical trends or not?
That is how it's working now. Basically, you have to see the up to date. You cannot see trends. When I was doing it manually, I started noticing some trends in certain accounts, and there's some days that they spend more, some days that they doesn't spend anything. So yeah, but right now it's basically the tool is to figure out how to solve the biggest issue is to monitor the spends. Obviously, to generate these trends, as you mentioned, will be super helpful, and definitely it's nice to have in the future. It's not a priority at this point, but definitely it's something that will add value, because that will be valuable information.
Yeah, and I mean, maybe one day we'll even turn this into a product that we sell, which would be really cool.
Who knows? Yeah.
Who knows? Awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing this with us. I think it's so cool. And I think a lot of our listeners will be like, whoa, I didn't even know this was an issue. And wow, it could be a really manual process. And wow, this is an amazing thing that a company, and remember, a company's not just the company, it's the people inside of it that work together to create this awesome solution to make sure that it's a better service and experience for their clients, which is so cool. Before we wrap up, we like to have our lightning round. I know, Alejandro, you like music, you like books. Let's talk about your top three, either books or movies.
Right now, one book that changed my view in terms of one of my core values as a person is ambition, but sometimes it's confusing because you can be ambition and in this modern world it's related to growth, grow as crazy and get as much as you can. And one book that changed my point of view about this, it was the Stop the Scale from Kirk Williams, who was also in this podcast. The approach of, yeah, just focus on be successful, but be happy, you have a life. Not everything is your professional career, not everything is money, not everything is growth. You can also be happy, being successful without looking into grow like crazy. So that book, it's, I think it's a must for everyone that works in this industry, because in general I think digital marketers are always being pushed into, you have to grow, you have to generate more value, you have to sell more. And this book is like, focus on what adds value, focus on the important things.
Yeah, and you know what the cool thing is? I remember, I'll tell you two stories related to this. I remember before he wrote the book, Brianna and Rachel heard him at a conference and he spoke about the topic and they came back really inspired. And I think that also helped me because earlier on in the agency, I was a little bit of that mindset, like, go, 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 right? And so that was really cool. Second of all, I recently won a contest with Kirk. So he sent me a copy of the book and two like coffee mugs, which was cool. I already owned the book, but it was the hardcover version, so I got the hard cover. So I took my soft cover version, and I actually, which was in good condition, but I then handed off to another agency owner I know as a gift, and that was just cool that like that all happened. So it's so cool that you're mentioning that book. We love Kirk, and yeah, thanks for sharing it. So what else?
Well, other book not related to the industry but super interesting. It's called The Curious Incident of the Dog at Nighttime. It's a long title. Basically, it's a book. It's written on the point of view of from an autistic kid, and it basically it's solving what is in his mind a mystery, and like a Sherlock Holmes uh, book, but you see it through the eyes of the autistic child. It's super interesting, not only because you understand how they see the world, the autistic people, but also because it, for me, it was revealing, because I identified that every person in the world has a default bias in terms of how they perceive the world and how they judge the world, be- for the mere fact that you have certain abilities and there's other people. If you have different abilities, you will perceive the world and differently, and you will act through differently. So it allows you to understand that it's a very diverse world, as it is, and it's super interesting. I love that book.
Wow, I've never heard of it. I'm like kind of looking at it right now on Amazon while we're doing this, but that's awesome. Yeah, I'm definitely going to take a look, and I think it. I mean, I don't know if it's for kids, but it seems like it could be helpful
I
as
don't
well. Maybe.
know. It's not a kid's book,
Yeah,
but probably it can be helpful. I don't think into early stages, but probably around 10 to 12
I'm thinking
years,
like
it
high
will
school,
be.
like high
Yeah,
school kids. Yeah,
yeah, that will be awesome for high school kids.
love it. And what's your number three?
The number three will be a Netflix series, The Three Body Problem. It's a science fiction. I haven't completed. I'm on the third chapter, but it's amazing. It changed. It blows your mind. It's extraordinary.
Yeah, I finished it and I really really enjoyed it. So we can talk about it once you're done.
Cool. Yeah.
Cool. Well, Alejandro, what's next? What's your next big project that you're working on?
Right now, I'm finishing other project. We are implementing enhanced conversions for the clients in the agency. For those who don't know, enhanced conversions is a feature in Google Ads which allows you to provide Google basically with encrypted information from the conversions you have, so it can improve the campaign results. Basically, you share with Google the email and phone number from the conversions you have, and then Google can look for more conversions that are valuable for the clients. I'm finishing this project, and the next big project is that I will become a father again. So I think that will be my next big project.
Yeah, well, both of those sound exciting.
Yeah,
And yeah, and we're wishing, hope your wife is healthy and everything goes well. But we're definitely excited for you and your son because I know he's going to be excited
yeah,
to have a brother.
definitely.
Cool. So, Alejandro, where can listeners learn more about you and maybe follow you?
Where I'm more active is in LinkedIn, so you can
Okay.
find through my name Alejandro Torres. And yeah, I'm doing posts in LinkedIn about. I think probably the one of the most recent is related to enhanced conversions. Just a note, everything is in Spanish because I'm in Mexico and I want to share information in my language, but you can find me there.
That's fine. We have, like I said, three body language, right? No, we've got lots of translation tools, so that's cool.
Yeah,
Wonderful. Well, Alejandro, this was really great. Super proud of you. Super proud of the team. And I think this opens up a new world to many people who didn't even know that this was an issue, and how you can
yeah,
be really creative in solving things. So,
definitely, yeah.
thank you for being a guest on the Digital Marketing Mentor, and thank you, listeners, for tuning into the Digital Marketing Mentor. We'll speak with you next time. Thank you for listening to the Digital Marketing Mentor podcast. Be sure to check us out online at thedmmentor.com and at the DM Mentor on Instagram. And don't forget to subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcasts for more marketing mentor magic. See you next time.